Welcome to the College Basketball Net Profit Show, Wednesday, February the 1st. That's right, February, which means we're 1 month away from, you know what, March. March Madness. It's right around the freaking corner. It's hard to believe, but we're going to be in conference tournament and then NCAA tournament season before you know it, Connor. Unbelievable how fast it's approaching.
Yeah, I'm ready for it. Let's roll. This is
All right,
this is the most exciting time because really we get to the focus is all on it here. So after all the sports going on the last few months.
No doubt. I mean, you're right. I mean, this is the time of year when all the eyeballs get focused on college basketball with football winding down. There's no question. So, with that in mind, we're going to focus on college basketball for the next 45 minutes or so and get ready for the Wednesday card. We'll start with the marquee games and we'll start in the Big Ten. We've got Penn State and Purdue in the Big Ten. We've got Purdue 10-point home favorites, 135.5 the total in this one. Should be a good matchup here when you look at it. Purdue, of course, what can you say? 21-1 this season, 10-1 on their home floor. That's straight up. Only 3-8 against the spread, though, for Purdue on their home floor. That is something worth taking notice of. And really, that win and cover against Michigan State over the weekend was a rare point spread cover for Purdue on their home floor. We'll see how they fare here, but obviously from a winning perspective, they have been able to consistently get the job done. Penn State comes into this game having won 3 of their last 5 with competitive loss to Wisconsin in that mix. They did have a bad game at Rutgers, but boy, did they bounce back strong, 83-61. Victory over Michigan in their last game. Purdue beat Penn State 76-63 when these two teams met in West Lafayette earlier, at Penn State. It was in Happy Valley. Now they got to go to Purdue. A little bit of a revenge spot here. I kind of like the road dog, when they're in revenge mode. And when you look at that first meeting with Purdue winning by 13, that was a competitive game. And then Purdue just totally ran away with it down the stretch. And, I think Penn State just got caught up in their defense, kind of had a tough time down the stretch getting stops. You got to think with Penn State during this better run that they put together, defending better, that might give them a better chance to hang around in this game. I like Penn State here plus 10. And keep in mind, Purdue's got to play Indiana coming up over the weekend. And that is a big-time matchup coming up for the Boilermakers as well. So this could be a spot where Purdue's home struggles, ATS, might continue. I think Penn State's worth a look here, plus 10. I like the over as well, 134.5 in this game. I think it's low enough where we can see enough points to get this game over the total. The first meeting got to 139 and went over the total. We saw 141. We've seen 152 in the recent meetings, and still trended 8-2 to the over in their last 10. Many of them have gotten into the 130s and high 140s. So for that reason, I'm going to look over a modest number here. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, Michael, I just said it. It's Penn State, smaller team, not very big. Yep. Good guards, Pickett, Lundy, Funk. I mean, they really got to be it, and they got it. They can hit it from 3. If there's a fall, it could be a rough one. I think they can hang around, but they're going to get pounded on the inside. He should have 25. Yeah. Right there easily, at least 20.
Size mismatch. Yep.
Yeah, but Purdue at home, undefeated, but I really don't want to lay 10 with them. I'm not just running to go do that. I remember that floor. It wasn't a home game, but close. It was at neutral site. It was on a Sunday because I thought about, Penn State in that one. I lean them the points here in this one. Can the shots drop? Maybe we know pretty early if they're stroking it, but that's where I'd look. Just because Purdue, I think they win the game. It's just, do you want to lay these points with them? Kind of an easy, kind of a coast mode right now. I know they're at home. Purdue just rolling along here. So I'd watch out. But, hey, they're so good they could win by 15. But I lean the points.
I do. I like Penn State in the spot. And the big game coming up with Indiana, I think, could factor in that.
Indiana looked bad last night. Yeah. Classic on the road. Maryland.
Yep, no doubt about that. And we saw evidence of that. Maryland just so good at home, as we had talked about as well. Creighton and Georgetown. We've got Creighton 13-point road favorites, 150.5 the total in this one. I think the total going up makes sense. I mean, as we always say with Georgetown, they just haven't They just continue to be totally lax on the defensive end of the floor. They have covered 4 straight, though. Let's keep that in mind. 4-0 ATS at Villanova, lose by 4. Xavier lose by 13. DePaul, they win that game outright, 81-76 at home. They go to St. John's, tough game, tight game, 75-73. Get the point spread cover in that one. And when you look at Creighton, they won obviously last year, both meetings against Georgetown, 80-66 at Georgetown, and then 88-77 at home. Both of them went over the total. I like the over more than the side, but it's a lot of points to be laying Creighton. But at the same time, Creighton's rounding into form. Everybody's healthy, including Kalkbrenner, playing good basketball, 4 straight wins. They've won 3 straight games by double-digit blowout margins. Butler, St. John's, Xavier. It's a tough game because Creighton's rolling. I don't know if I want to step in front of their freight train, but Georgetown's covered 4 straight, which means, and this is a big number, and this is a lot of points to be given them right now. Creighton does have Villanova at home coming up after this. It's a Saturday game at home against Villanova. So is that offer up maybe a little bit of a look ahead? Possibly. Tough one. Slightly in Georgetown, but I don't know if I'm going to actually pull the trick. Creighton's really, really putting it together right now, and I'm not sure I want to tempt fate going against that. What do you think here, C-Mac?
Yeah, they're playing a lot better in that last road game, but a down Butler team where they win by 2021. I still don't. I know they're getting better, but road earlier, and they dealt with all the sickness and injuries, or Cockburn and mono or whatever. But I can't do it. I think this is Georgetown or nothing. Maybe even look first half, and I even think full game. One thing, Creighton, not the same defensively, even though that last game, but Butler struggles to score. Georgetown should give up points. I agree with you on the over. It's kind of I go that way, and I lean Georgetown here. I've thought about this one a lot today. It's just, will they get this done? I don't know. They've had some real shitters at home as Georgetown, but that was early on. They seem to be Murray playing well, Spears. So shots go with this Creighton D, not as great on the road. I think they can hang around here.
All right, we got another Big East matchup next up, Providence and Xavier. This is a really good one. Xavier 4-point home favorites, and the total's being bet down. It opened 156. It's all the way down to 153.5 is starting to show up here with the total. Betting markets obviously thinking maybe it was just a little bit too high, this total, when it first opened. It's tough to step in front of Xavier at Cintas Center. They've been great at home, 11-1. Coming into this game, excellent on the home floor. In Big East play, I think they're undefeated at home. Seton Hall, UConn, Creighton, Marquette, Georgetown. Yeah, they've won every home game in Big East play. So this has been a real tough place for the road team to come in and win. Providence beat Xavier in overtime at the Duncan Center, 99-92 last year when these teams last met. They have yet to play each other this year. This is the first meeting this season between Providence and Xavier. We'll see how it goes, but Providence has actually had the better of it. They've won and covered 4-1 straight up, 5-0 ATS against Xavier in the last 5 meetings. Fremantle is a big deal. There is no question about that for sure. Obviously a big foot injury for him, and he's going to be out until probably right before the tournament. They're saying early March, Sean Miller, that hopefully they're hoping to have him back by then. But 6-1 ATS on the road, no Fremantle. I'm definitely leaning strong Providence here, and that series history. It's hard to look past that. How good this team has been, against Xavier head to head, and you're getting points with them. We know they're pretty solid in terms of being able to cover on the road and be good as underdogs. We know that Bynum is back. We talked about Jared Bynum for weeks on this show with that damn injury of his. He's finally back and healthy again for Providence, and obviously that makes a huge deal. Bryce Hopkins has been great, averaging almost a double-double a game for this Friars team. He's got double-doubles, in fact, 3 of the last 5 games for them. You look at on the Xavier side with Fremantle, banged up at least 4 weeks with that foot injury. You need others to step up here for Xavier. That's going to be important for them moving forward, and that's especially going to have to be a team effort to replace that 15.2 points per game and 8.1 rebounds per game that you don't get with
Yeah.
him out due to injury. So, it's important for Xavier, who's going to fill that void. And you get more from Sally Baum, the UTEP transfer. Colby Jones, can he step up? Kunkel. Those are guys that are going to be counted upon now. Do more, be better with Fremantle out. So very interesting now. Without him, how they respond. Lean here is Providence. I don't love, going against Xavier at home, but might make an exception here when you factor in Providence been great on the road ATS, great in the underdog role. 5-0 ATS against Xavier the last 5 meetings. I've got to lean Providence. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, I'll just get out of the way. You talked about it with Fremantle. Maybe not right away, but down the line it will. 15-8. I think the boards are even bigger too, because you have Kunkel and Jones, like you mentioned. These guys can score, and they're whole team. They're pretty solid scoring the rock. You know what? Providence. It's just Cooley as a dog, though. You mentioned they've been close with him before the last couple of years. I think it's just they seem to be a little more healthier right now. And Xavier, it's the defense. All these numbers in the 300s, they've won a lot of games, even at home, close. I just don't. This is short at 4, but I just don't want to lay a number. They are coming off the, kind of the bad loss on Saturday to Creighton. But I think it's Providence too. I don't know if I go crazy, but I think you take the 4 here in a good basketball game.
Yeah, really good. And it's early, 6:30 p.m. Eastern. So this will be one of those
This is
early
early
games.
one. A little bit better defense with Providence. Yeah, that's why I think it's tight.
Yeah, I think so. I think I like Providence still. You're right. It's kind of interesting. Money's come in on Xavier, and sometimes without the key player in the lineup first game, everybody steps up. We do talk about that angle. Maybe you see it tonight in this game for Xavier. Pitt and North Carolina. We've got North Carolina 8.5-point home favorites. 146.5 the total in this one. Pitt already beat this team earlier this year at the Peterson Events Center in Pitt. At home. And that was that game where I was thinking of taking Pitt and I didn't. And I've been on Pitt pretty much, majority of games since then. They've somehow maintained their point spread, success even after the North Carolina win. Virginia won and covered. Duke won and they covered there, but lost, but covered. Georgia Tech win and cover. Louisville win and cover. They had the bad game against Florida State. Wake Forest, they won. They covered, maybe, depending on what number you got. And then Miami, they got the 71-68 win earlier this week. North Carolina is still having a tough time in terms of laying bigger points. I mean, as a point spread team, they're 3-6. ATS, their last 9. 5-point favorites against Michigan, won by 4. 6.5-point favorites at Pitt. They lost outright. 10-point favorites against Wake. They won by 9. 13-point favorites against lowly Louisville. Okay, they won and covered that, but the worst team in the conference maybe. Boston College, 14-point home favorites for North Carolina. They won by 8. 4.5-point road favorites at Syracuse. They only won by 4. They did win and cover at home against NC State, their rival, but still not comfortable laying points like this with North Carolina. I think Pitt can hang inside the number. It was a very high-scoring affair last time they played. It went into the 150s. It went over the total. I worry about the ability for the Panthers to handle some of the size and the rebounding prowess of North Carolina. And they got a lot of easy baskets against Pitt the first meeting. But North Carolina had a hard time defending Pitt, big time. That was something you want to keep in mind as well. So, Cummings, Burton, guys like that, they should be able to have some success here offensively for Pitt. So I like this game over the total here, 146.5, 147, and I like the road dog as well. What do you think here, Connor?
This total, I think it can just get over. I'm worried we could just stay under, though, one of those 72, 69 type games. But that means I got to lean Pitt. I know they're on the road, and some of these, look at last night, night before, some hit, some don't. Maybe more people are on it because it seems pretty obvious here to just take the points with Pitt. North Carolina is playing better, especially at home. Baycott, these guys seem to be, but they're still not a great shooting team. And you mentioned it, Barton, Henson. I like the guard play of this Pitt Panther team. I think they can hang here a little bit in this one. It's kind of like last night, Kansas pulled away, but we didn't want Duke at all. That's for sure. I mean, I really don't want North Carolina right now. Basically have to win by 10, even at home. So I think if you look sidewise, it's Pitt or nothing.
Great comparison. Look, Duke, another non-cover last night against Wake Forest. So same kind of boat for North Carolina. I could see them winning by 4. I could see that happening here tonight. Perfect type of final score. All right, next up we've got Tennessee, Florida, SEC. Tennessee 5-point road favorites, 132.5 the total in this one. Who's going to have better success offensively? Because Florida's actually playing some excellent defense. Tennessee's one of the best defensive teams in the country all season long. But I think we got to give Florida credit how they've played defensively. It was not their defense against Kansas State that let them down. It was scoring the basketball.
Yeah.
But defense, you look at the way they played, 56, 64, 54, 59, 60, 64 to a really good Kansas State team. You're doing pretty good. I mean, they're playing great defense. I never thought under Todd Golden they'd struggle this offensively. I thought it actually would take time for the defense, but it's kind of been the other way. They can't get on track, at the offensive end right now. Yet the total's going up. How about that? Florida's struggling to make baskets right now, and yet here we've got the total going up here in this game. Maybe last year you look at it, 78-71 Tennessee. The year before, 78-66 for Tennessee. 2 overs. Maybe that's what the betting markets see. I'm certainly not in a rush to bet the over in this game with what these two teams are capable of doing right now defensively. As far as the side goes, you look at Tennessee. On the road, won and covered against LSU, Mississippi State, South Carolina. Ole Miss, they only won by 4. I think the number's fair. Florida's actually been very good against the spread lately. It is worth noting that, and good on their home floor as well. Keep that in mind. So I was hoping to take Florida here, and I still lean Florida a little bit, +5, 5.5, but I have that feeling it could be right around the number late. And so I don't love it. I don't love the number we're getting, because I think it's well priced, but I lean slightly to Florida. Don't love it, though. What do you think here, Connor?
Yeah, the problem I have with Florida is they just struggle to score. What's going to happen here tonight? They don't really have any key wins, too. They do have some tight losses, A&M, and beat up on some bad teams at home. Good win, I guess, Missouri. Here, Castleton's got to be better. I think he's too soft. I mean, he has to have a big game, I think, if you're looking for Florida. I want to take them. I just can't. Tennessee's been so good on the road, but I don't know if I'm rushing to lay 5 with them either, with how good this defense is. Keith just put it, holding teams, 21%. Shots just don't drop for this other team. It's not easy to go to Gainesville. Tennessee, the better team. It's tough for me. I think I'm going to be off. And I don't agree. They think there'll be points. I hope Florida's knocking down some shots because I don't see it. Maybe they thought this total was just low at 130, but it's moved up to 132.5. I can only be on the under. I think this is in the 60s, especially if Florida can keep it close. That'll be there.
Yeah, definitely. Intriguing game, though, there in that one for sure. Georgia and Auburn next up now. We've got Auburn 12-point home favorites, 141.5 the total here between these two teams. Georgia-Auburn, we think of a lot of great football games in the past between these two schools. Not so much basketball, especially as of late. Georgia's obviously had a rough go of it. We'll see how Georgia fares in this one. They're coming off a win against South Carolina in overtime, but only by 3 against a bad team. They've got romped in their last 2 road games by Tennessee and Kentucky, double-digit losses. Auburn's lost 2 in a row. I think they might be coming back home looking to smack the shit out of somebody after these 2 losses in a row to A&M and West Virginia. They might have that perfect opportunity to do that. When you look at the matchup, Auburn's gone over in 3 straight because the defense has kind of leaked on them the last 2. This might be an opportunity for them to bounce back. Certainly, the last time Georgia was on the road, they couldn't make anything offensively in terms of shot making. So we'll see how this one goes. But it's a lot of points. Do I trust Georgia? No, but I end up passing on this game with just a lean to the under in this one. What do you think, Connor?
Real quick, our guy Nikki Fish takes in here. 50 more likes. We should get that quick. Hit the like button. That's the least you can do. Over 180 in here. Boston Nick, Nunya, Clark, always in it. Rocco, Alex Hills, Jake Burns, Lake Show Magazine, Isaiah, our guy Nasty Nate. He's on Tennessee. He tailed cab right on. Tennessee has been very good. I'm sure he's on Providence. I have to scroll up. Mike M. Shout out to you, my Brian Watson. Rob Greer, all the regulars, Robert Murray, hit the like button. We appreciate it. I want to hit that there because I want nothing with this game. I don't want to lay 12 with an Auburn team. This should be like a good bounce back spot for them here at home, but I think it's just, too many here. And is the Auburn kind of defense you mentioned that's been bad? Does their defense from earlier come back? Because I think you'd maybe look at the under, that this is just a tad bit too high. Georgia just get maybe low 60s, but I'm off here.
All right, next up here, we've got Minnesota and Rutgers in this one. Rutgers, obviously, laying a big number here. This is another spot where it's favored or pass for me, but it's just a lot of points. But Rutgers is not going to be in a good mood. Rutgers had a poor game the other night, taking on it was on the road to Iowa over the weekend. Yeah, not a good finish to that game. Not the kind of defensive effort Steve Peichel expects from this team, giving up 93 points to Iowa. I think back home it's Smackdown City over this Minnesota team, which just got destroyed 81-61 by Northwestern on the road in their last road game. Now, they have had actually some decent efforts on the road, but that came to an abrupt end with that loss to Northwestern. Second road game now in 4 days. Not an easy spot for Minnesota. Angry Rutgers team. Yeah, Rutgers maybe first half. I actually might bet that, Rutgers first half. Trust them early to answer the bell. They're laying 8 in the first half rather than the 15. But yeah, it would be Rutgers only for me. Connor, what do you think?
Back of the rack. I'm just not going to mess around with them. It's them or nothing. And you mentioned Minnesota had some, early on in the year, some okay efforts on the road. I don't want them as much, when they just can't score. And a team like Rutgers, who should defensively after that game on the road be a lot better. I mean, look at Penn State, 65-45. That could be similar. I haven't checked Minnesota's team total. I'm sure it's not very high, but I'd look to the under there.
That might be a good way to go. If you don't want to lay this many with Minnesota, you can take a look at maybe their team total under. Dawson Garcia is questionable for tonight. He's missed the last 2 games, ankle injury. I don't have a firm update, but looks like game time decision. And if he hasn't been announced in yet, I probably wouldn't expect him to play. All right, Seton Hall, St. John's. Back to the Big East we go. Seton Hall now is a 1-point road favorite in this game, 143 the total. In this one, St. John's does have a good home record, 10-3 on and straight up. And now we're pricing them in a range where they got to win. All they need to do is win the game. I think they're capable of doing that. I mean, let's not forget the losses were Marquette, Providence, Villanova, and Creighton. The last 4 conference losses for St. John's. Seton Hall did pummel them. On New Year's Eve, 88-66. It was ugly. For St. John's. Make no mistake about it. But now we're favoring Seton Hall on the road. I don't know. I mean, on the road, they obviously beat DePaul, but didn't cover. They pummeled Georgetown on the road, but they also got blown out at Creighton, blown out at Marquette, lost at Xavier. I know last game they beat up Butler on the road, 70-49. But definitely, I'm not really ready to lay on the road with Seton Hall. By the way, Yetna's out for the season. It looks like Dre Davis questionable with an ankle injury. St. John's has their injury concerns too with Raphael Pinzon questionable. And of course, Posh Alexander has been their veteran guard for many years. Missed the last 2 games with an ankle injury. It's just a lot of question marks, a lot of uncertainty. But I'd lean St. John's. I think there's now a little value on them here. What do you think, Connor?
I know they're at home. Maybe this is, but I don't want St. John's. I just don't think you bet it. Seton Hall, a little bit the better defensive team, but I don't want them either. So I'm off here. Maybe the total. A few people mentioned the over. It can get there. And a few times the game, I think if it does, it will just get over. Sometimes, especially the last while with the Seton Hall defense that's good, it could just slip over, but I'm off.
I lean over, but nothing's overly strong. Yeah, Corbello, that's been a big disappointment, his play there this year, no question. Villanova and Marquette, another Big East game. Marquette, 6.5-point home favorites, 145 the total in this one. How about the money that's poured in? Already a 2-point move on Villanova here for this game against Marquette tonight. By the way, it is worth noting, very important development. Justin Moore had been out all year for the Villanova Wildcats, and he's finally come back here the last couple of games for them against St. John's and Providence. Obviously, he makes them a lot better. He's trying to work himself into a game shape. That'll help out the likes of Caleb Daniels, Eric Dixon, Cam Whitmore. He's going to make that entire starting group a lot better. So we'll see if, now another game under his belt, he should feel a little bit better. I think because of he's back now, maybe that means that Villanova, look, Villanova's been not the Villanova we've expected. 10-11 straight up, 7-14 against the spread. Very poor in terms of their straight up and ATS record. And look, Marquette just keeps on rolling, playing great, winning games, covering numbers. It's not easy to step in front of Marquette, but this is a healthier Villanova team now. This was a tough, hard-fought game when these teams met on New Year's Eve. Marquette won at Nova, 68-66. Revenge spot here for Villanova, catching points. All the makings of a great angle that I love at this time of year. These in-season, same-season revenge games where you've got a close loss for the one team at home. Now they're on the road. Now they're an underdog catching points. It's a strong angle. This is hitting at like 60% or close to that ATS in the last 10 years in conference play. Home team loses the first game, especially a close game. They're road dogs in the rematch. The road dog covers almost 60% of the time. I think that speaks to Villanova here. I like Villanova a little bit here. And they got Moore back. He'll be feeling better now, a little more rust out of his system. So I think Villanova makes a game of this. I'd take the points, lean over. Connor, what do you think?
Yeah, it's come down, obviously. I think if you like Nova, down to 6.5. And this one's tough for me because Villanova is something I not want to be on. And maybe more, it's this game. 31 minutes, 5 points, like you talked about. He's still getting back to it. I don't know if it is here. Marquette, 15-6 against the number, have just been money. And I think shots drop. I lean to them, but always tough. Nova Marquette, Big East here, conference game. It's just one I'll be off. I'd lean over. Marquette over's pretty solid. But we know Nova, very slower, very efficient team, but not as great defensively as years past. So I'll be off.
Right. Next up, as we continue along here, we've got Florida State, NC State, ACC matchup here. NC State 10-point home favorites, 151 the total in this one. NC State, they've had a nice season. I mean, quietly, a quiet 17-5 they are. Not a lot of people are talking about NC State, but they have had a really nice year. They get the win against Wake Forest on the road in comeback fashion in that game. DJ Burns was just phenomenal down the stretch. Jeez, big shots left and right. Had a huge game offensively in that comeback for NC State against Wake Forest. They've got Casey Morsell, Jarkel Joyner, very good offensive team. I mean, Terquavion Smith. I mean, that's a really good offensive team. They play a little defense that it can beat a lot of teams, and that's always the question mark. They will give up a lot of points still in their games. They play a fast pace. Probably see more of the same here against Florida State. These two teams, by the way, 3 straight overs. Right away, the total does stand out to me. Even though it's a high number, 151, I think we probably see this game go over the total. But I think it's too many points to be laying with NC State in this spot. You look at Florida State, especially when they've gone on the road lately. They've been better. They've been certainly better against the number. 4-1 ATS their last 5 games. They had a brutal game against Miami. Other than that, they covered against Virginia, lost by 9. At Notre Dame, they won outright as dogs. Pitt, they won outright as dogs. Clemson at home, very solid Tigers team, lost by 1. Probably should have won that game. There's a lot to like here, Florida State, the way they've played lately. A lot better than it was earlier in the season for them. Florida State's covered 3 of the last 4 against NC State. Last year, they went to NC State. They won the game out. They won the game 83-81 last year when these teams played. So it would be the underdog, and I think it would be the over as well for this game between the Noles and the Wolfpack. Again, Wolfpack playing some really nice basketball. They're coming off that exhausting comeback against Wake. Florida State, hard fought with Clemson that they could have won, but I think Florida State catching points on the road here, 10 is worth a look in this one, and I think it goes over 151 as well. Connor, what do you think here? FSU, NC State.
Yeah, I think it can get up and over the number. I think the number, though, is pretty sharp on the total. I've been crazy about NC State, who I took a lot early on in their overs, and they cover. I just don't want them. Can they win by 12-14? I'm sure, but I just don't think their defense is that good enough right now to lay 10. I thought it was too much. I've been looking at Florida State all day long. I think I'm going to pull the the trigger. I just think they're playing better basketball, and they're just lining them like this is the team early on. The injuries, the guys that are out, they're out. It looks like McLeod won't play, the big guy, but I think they can hang around here. These teams know each other, and I just think 10's too many. If I die on the sword, I die on it. But I like the points.
All right, we've got LSU, Missouri. Missouri 10-point home favorites, 147 the total. I mean, it would be either favorite or over or neither. I mean, the over maybe. The reason why I think the over could still hit is because LSU has just fallen apart defensively in the last couple of games. I know they've had struggles shooting. The one concern is on the road. They've really shot the ball so poorly. They've kind of trended under, but Missouri makes up for that with such great offensive pace and execution that I think you could get a game like we saw with Texas Tech LSU, where I think Missouri probably scores 84 and you get maybe 68 out of LSU, and there's your over still. So that you could see something like that here in this game, but there's no way I'm taking LSU on the road. Okay. I know it's, in this spot after a big win against Iowa State could be a lot to lay with Missouri, but I can't make a case for LSU when they've lost by 20, by 40, by 13 in their last 3 road games. I'm just not doing it. So, Missouri or nothing, and 147. I think it just gets over the number. What do you think, Connor?
Yeah, I mean LSU was a little bit better shooting it against Texas Tech. Obviously, they lost. It didn't help out, and maybe they could hang around here. Just one thing with Missouri, they're at home. There's just, do you want to lay this number with them? Maybe you look first half. I just don't want anything to do with this basketball game. Maybe it gets over too, but I don't know if LSU can score enough. Even with Missouri, it's not great defensively. Hit the like button. Come on. Over 200 in here. Only 75. Hit it.
Yeah, absolutely. Heed the words of CMAC. Hit that like button. Oklahoma State, Oklahoma. Battle of Bedlam. Basketball version in this one. We've got Oklahoma 4-point home favorites, 3.5, 4, 131.5 the total in this one. It is Oklahoma revenge mode. They lost 72-56 to Oklahoma State just a couple of weeks ago. But Oklahoma State's dominated this team. They really have. I mean, you look at the last 6 meetings, 6-0, 5-1 straight up, 5-0-1 against the spread for Oklahoma State against this team. They've done a really nice job. Oklahoma State head-to-head against Oklahoma, including the win earlier this year. Oklahoma, I'm telling you what, it just doesn't look like they're showing much consistency. And I know the Alabama game was an incredible effort. Is that going to spur them on all of a sudden? I don't know. I don't really know about that because so many times we've seen this team win one, lose the next game, win one, lose the next game, win one, lose the next game. I mean, that's been littered all over their schedule here as of late. So, and I just don't want to lay 3.5, 4 with this team coming off their biggest win of the year when they've showed zero consistency one game to the next. So I lean here toward Oklahoma State plus the points in this one. What do you think here in this one, Connor Mack?
It just seems Oklahoma, a team that's regular in the 60s, scores 90 points. It scares me a little bit, even though this is kind of a revenge game after that bad second half against Oklahoma State last night. I think these teams, match up well. I think Oklahoma wins. I really don't want to lay, the 3.5 with them. Just a team, after a huge win, and then we saw what Bama did last night. They were a little bit pissed off. I'd still lean under in this one. I think it's a slugfest. I don't think the shots drop. I mean, they shot it so well in that game. I haven't betted, but I lean under.
All right, next up, we've got. All right, excuse me, just had to get the cough button there. All right, next up, we've got New Mexico and Utah State. Utah State 4-point home favorites. Look at this total now, 156. I was waiting for the total to finally be jacked up a little bit for both of these teams, really, with what we've seen from both of them totals-wise. New Mexico, they've been flying over the total 3 straight games and really most of the season. New Mexico is 13-8 to the over. Utah State's 14-7 to the over. They've gone 6-2 to the over their last 8 games. This is more like where the total should have been all along, closer into the mid 150s, if not higher than that. So I might pump the brakes on it tonight. This is definitely a high total. It's been adjusted. As far as the side goes in this one, though, Utah State split the 2 games on the road against San Diego State and Fresno State back home, where they've oddly not been a great point spread team at home in the recent games. The last 2 failed to cover. They won both games, but failed to cover both of them. New Mexico, on the flip side, continuing to be a team that just outscores the other team. Offensively, they're excellent. Can't say the same, though, necessarily about their defense. Utah State has won 4 straight against New Mexico, 5 straight actually against New Mexico, and they have covered 3 of the last 4 head-to-head. So it's been a really good matchup here for Utah State. We'll see if that continues here tonight. I think Utah State's matched up well. I respect this home court where they are 10-1 on the year. Do I lay the 4? I don't know, but I lean that way. I mean, I'm not going against the Aggies here in this spot here. At home, they're laying a short number. I think they've got what it takes here to get the job done in this. I know New Mexico, certainly a really capable team, especially at the offensive end of the floor. But I think in this matchup, there's enough that can get done here from Utah State to be able to get the job done in this game. So I think definitely you're going to see Utah State, feed off that energy of the crowd. I think definitely too, New Mexico can't keep shooting the lights out like they've been. I mean, these are out of this world shooting numbers. Don't necessarily expect that to continue. So I'm going to side with the home favorite here, Utah State. What do you think here in this one, Connor?
Yeah, I mean, both teams score. Is the total, though, too high? I don't know. I'm going to be off, I think, the total, because I think it could just get over. One thing was Utah State. This team's home. They shoot the 3. I mean, this team's almost shooting 42% from 3. Just crazy. So I lean them, but I don't want to lay points with them right now. Even though where I want to do it is at home. I think New Mexico is a little bit better, but I don't want the Lobos really on the road. Kind of been hit and miss. Should be a good game. I don't know. Maybe look at it, bet this game alive. I don't know if you're rushing it really either side. I mean, I'd lean to Utah State if I had to.
Yeah, definitely. Should be interesting, but I think it's telling that New Mexico's getting 4 in this game. I think Utah State finds a way, wins and covers this game in the late night out. Another one of these late night standalone Mountain West games, kind of like we saw last night with San Diego State and Nevada. Great job, Nevada. Way to go to get Conor Mack home with his best bet to the winner's circle last night with the Wolfpack
Played well
against the Aztecs there. That was a fun game late night last night. All right. Games that we have not talked about that we both like on the board. Connor, we'll start with you. Games we have not discussed. What do you like?
Yeah, let's touch on them here. I'm going to be off. I lean over, and I lean George Washington. I know it's moved to them, so I lean them, but the over in that game, it's up to 149 there. I'm going to stay off Louisville. I can't even take them at 2. I shouldn't even be talking about that. What am I doing? But Belmont Murray State, I'm going to be off. Let me keep rolling here. One game I did want to get to was I think Southern Utah, California Baptist could be good. Southern Utah just been not good on the road, but and shooting it, even though they're top 5 in some categories, especially scoring at 86 points a game. I think it could get over. It's moved a little bit, but I like Seattle here to bounce back. They have shot it so bad the last couple of games. Back here at home, I really don't want to lay the points, even though I think they get it done, and they haven't been the best first half team. I looked at their team total, 75.5. I think it could get over. But Abilene's been playing do some overs. I think it gets over that 144.5. I think we get over in that one. Extra board, I did have Upstate Campbell. I like the under 133 in that one I was looking at, and there was one other. Kind of looking at Winthrop +3, but I don't know if I get there. That's it.
All right, there we go. Good stuff. For me, I'm with you on George Washington, actually, in that game. The over makes sense, too. I like both I like George Washington's side more than the total in that, but I like both. I like the money move on Wofford. I agree with. It's up to 3 against East Tennessee State. I'd take money line now in that. I think Samford, Western Carolina over. I like that 144. I think that's kind of low between those 2 teams in that game. I've kind of given up on Rhode Island. Rhode Island's just really disappointed me. I keep waiting for them to turn a corner. I like St. Joe's.
Take them at home. That's where I
St. Joe's. I'm on the Hawks there. The Hawks. Not the Atlanta Hawks. The St. Joe's Hawks. -4 in that game against Rhode Island. Chattanooga Furman. I'm always interested in these Furman games over. I think you'll see points both ways there with Chattanooga, the Mocs, and the Paladins over 152.5. What else? Let me see here. George Mason moved a lot against UMass, but too much to bet it now. Cincinnati's laying. Tulsa's not been a team I've bet a lot, but kind of tempted with 16 for Tulsa. Tulsa could be a sign of one of these teams where they get their ass kicked so much and they're so bad for such a long period of time that, just when they start to show signs of some level of competitiveness, you might be able to start to get involved with the Golden Hurricane a little bit. I know they're 0-7 straight up, 1-6 against the spread on the road, but they did beat Tulane. They lost in overtime to SMU. Against Memphis, they hung in there for a good part in that game. That's just a shit ton of points for a team like Cincinnati to be laying. So I think just going to look toward maybe a little bit of an overvalued Cincinnati team, maybe a little bit of an undervalued Tulsa team getting 16 in that one. East Carolina, South Florida. I lean to the dog there, ECU, a little bit, +8. South Florida is one of those teams, like them as a dog, not so much as a favorite going into that. Belmont, Murray State's a fascinating one. Murray State's really had the better of Belmont lately, but Belmont beat the brakes off them earlier this year. Keep that in mind. And, to be honest with you, there's been a lot of mediocrity from Murray State lately. I kind of think Belmont could beat them again. It is a revenge spot for Murray. Murray had dominated Belmont quite a bit the last few years, so that tempers my enthusiasm. But if I'm playing that old school rivalry, OVC rivalry, Ohio Valley Conference rivalry for years, now they've taken that rivalry to the Missouri Valley Conference where they both reside now. If I were to bet that game, though, it would be Belmont. I think laying on the road can get the job done there. Let me see what else here. We've got Indiana State, Evansville. I like the over. You know me with those Indiana State games. I like the overs with the Sycamores. So I'm on that game over the total. And in terms of the New Mexico State, I think they've had some games where they've been close. They've obviously had some struggles. They've taken some lumps this year. But I think they've got an opportunity to get a home win there against Stephen F. Austin in this game. And the numbers kind of come down in that. So New Mexico State plus the 2.5, I think worth a look against Stephen F. Austin. SMU Tulane should be high scoring. I like the over there, 158.5 in that game. Should be a lot of points. Southern Utah, Cal Baptist, you mentioned it, Connor, from a side perspective. The over, I think, from a totals perspective is worth a look there. Abilene Christian, I like them, plus points against Seattle. I think it's just a few too many there for the Seattle team to be laying. Abilene Christian, and you're right about the over there. You mentioned it. I think that's probably worth the look. Good call there. And then on the added board, not much. I have Holy Cross Boston over 131, 131.5. I lean a little to Bucknell, 7.5, 8 as an underdog against American University. Navy and Lafayette. Not this time. I actually kind of lean Navy in that game as a slight road favorite. I would take the money line in that. Lehigh and Army. Lehigh, is starting to get their shit together a little bit. Money's come in on them. I agree. I'm going back to the well with, you mentioned the under, right, with Upstate and Campbell. I'm back to the well with Upstate as a dog again. It's been a lot more hit or miss lately, but I'm taking them tonight. Upstate plus 4.5 against Campbell. In that one. That's
I don't mind it.
There we go.
Yeah. I don't mind it. If you got any more questions, Gardner Webb, did you hit that?
No.
Cabana?
No, we have
not. You got anything there?
I did not have much on that. I kind of lean Charleston Southern actually a little bit with but again, Gardner Webb, every time I've faded them, they've
very good.
So yeah.
They've been very good this year. That's why I got to stay off. Hit us with a few more questions. Come on, we got to get the hundo. We got 9 more to go. Come on now, we got over 2.
Now, I'm with Nunya on Wofford. Georgia, I have no opinion on that Georgia side, but it is a lot to be. It feels like Auburn might smack them, but that's a lot of points, and Auburn's kind of been erratic. Providence, I'm with you there. Southern Illinois, Bradley. I mean, I don't love either offense, but it is 127. It's a very low total, but I wish you luck there.
Yep. That's it. I think we're good. If we have anything else, We'll
Did I
cut
mention
out
Drake? I think I mentioned Drake. Did I not? The Drake game?
Drake the Snake.
Let me see. Drake. Drake. Oh no, I did not. Drake in Northern. Oh, it's one of my plays. No,
Northern
I
Iowa?
like Northern Iowa.
Yeah.
Northern Iowa plus the points. Northern Iowa is one of those teams for years. When I give them a good, long, hard look when they're catching points, it's been that way for many, many years for this Northern Iowa Panthers team. And to me, Drake has shown some minor cracks in the armor. I don't think they're
Yeah.
nearly as good. And isn't DeVries still out? I'm pretty sure of that. DeVries missed the last game, I know, for Drake. Let me get an update on that. His status tonight. That's significant.
Real
No, he's
quick.
out indefinitely. Yeah, that's what I
Yeah.
thought. I thought he's out indefinitely for this Drake team. Now, I know they beat the hell out of Belmont, but that was that first game with him out, and they all rallied, and they had a great let me see them do it again here in this one. I like Northern Iowa there.
Yeah. The only thing is they've been good at home. They're this
Yeah.
team that wins, but not always covers.
Yeah.
You know, I think they're 10-1, but 4-6-1, something like that at home. And maybe, you know, that's what the people saw. Open at 9, it was just too much.
Yeah.
Even Northern Iowa, but it just might be too many points, which I haven't been too high on this year. Yeah, I thought it was too much as well. I'd be on Northern Iowa or nothing there.
Yeah, Northern Iowa's played this team tough going back to last year. 8-point game, 2 overtime games in a row last year between these two teams. That was actually 2 years ago. Yeah, 2 OT games last year. Drake won at Northern Iowa, and Northern Iowa won in overtime at Drake last year. Both games went to overtime. I think Northern Iowa competes in this game, plus the points for me in that. There we go. Southern Utah. I like Southern Utah a lot, but now they're on the road. You know, it's a little bit of a tricky spot. I'm staying off them tonight. I'm just going over the total in that game with Southern Utah. There we go. Toilet Bowl. Yeah, it's one of those games. Like, believe it or not, I think Georgia Tech's worse than Louisville right now. I can't believe I'm saying that,
that's
but
what I was
think it
thinking.
might be true. Yeah, it's Louisville or nothing. But fuck, there's no way within a game on a card with 100 games or so that I'm betting Georgia Tech Louisville. So not doing it.
Yeah, I agree.
There we go. All right, good stuff. But yeah, Louisville, if I had to. Good stuff. Great stuff from the chat. Thanks for the questions. Thanks for the Albany and UMass from Jay Peasy. Jay Peasy, we got to answer his questions. He's so friggin' loyal. This guy. He's in there every single day. So Albany's been bad all year, and UMass Lowell's been a point spread darling, right? I mean, there's no question. That's why this point spread is where it is. One team's been really, really good. The other team's been terrible. There's no question about that. And they failed to cover in 5 straight. But Albany's covered in 4 straight head-to-head and won 4 straight head-to-head against UMass Lowell. That is significant. That's at the point where, hold on now, I can't lay 13 with UMass Lowell. Not when Albany's dummied this team repeatedly. So it's conflicting factors. That's why I didn't bet the game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to lay 14 with UMass. Better team, they win, but I don't know if they cover.
Yeah. The Albany situation is a fucking disaster. I agree with that, Keith. 100% right. I mean, I don't think I could take Albany here, but yet at the same time, they've dummied this team repeatedly. So we'll see. But if UMass Lowell shows up, they might roll. But again, they have had a really, really tough time with Albany head to head. So that's just one of those games. Don't even worry about it or concern yourself with it. Just stay away. I think it's tricky. All right, good stuff. One more here. Oh, yeah, we mentioned that, Chad. OU, Oklahoma State. Yeah, we worried. We mentioned that game earlier in the show, so rewind and you'll hear our thoughts on that. All right, best bets coming up right after we hear from Manscaped and Southtown 101. All right, Southtown 101. When you're in San Antonio, Texas, stop in. Great food, drinks, live music, DJs, karaoke, Southtown 101, and manscaped.com, promo code PubSports, 20% off and free shipping using promo code PubSports. You know what, Daryl? I almost did bet New Hampshire there. I lean New Hampshire. I think they're better than New Jersey. NJIT, as I like to call them. Yeah, I think they're better than NJIT. So New Hampshire, I would lean in that direction. If you want to bet it, go ahead. I agree. What do you think here? Best bet. Now it's time for best bets for this Wednesday slate. Conor Mack, what do you like for best bet?
It was going to roll total. Obviously, I like the Seattle over, but Florida State plus 10. I will die on it. I think they cover too many points.
There you go. Florida State plus 10 against NC State for Conor Mack. Best bet here for this Wednesday college basketball card. Best bet for me, little funk. Nothing to get too worried about. But, yeah, a couple in a row. Best bet losses have not happened very often for me this season. But let's see what we can find for tonight to get ourselves back on track again. I really like this for the revenge spot. The angle, and I'm not even taking the best of the number with this, but I'm going to rock with it anyway. And there are now some sevens starting to pop up again on this. Villanova plus 7 against Marquette. I think, it's buy low on Villanova. They got Justin Moore back. The worrisome thing is this is the kind of angle I took last night with Virginia Tech, and it hurt me. But I think this is one where I'm going to come back to the well. It's an undervalued team that just got a key piece back that I think has their best basketball in front of them. I'm not giving up on Kyle Neptune. I'm not calling this guy a bad coach yet. He's had a tough season. They've had some injuries. They've kind of underachieved a little bit. Let's let them play. Let's let February and early March play out before we're ready to, put Villanova in the casket and recite their last rites. Let's let them sort of work themselves out of this. They lost a close one to Marquette at home earlier this season. Now they're road underdogs in a same season revenge rematch. That is a very good long-term winning angle against the spread in college basketball. And that's what we'll go with tonight. Villanova plus 7 against Marquette for my best bet for this Wednesday card. All right, that'll wrap it up for this edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show. Thanks to everyone in the chat for joining us. Hit the like button.
Yeah.
Way out. We appreciate it very much. We'll be back tomorrow on Thursday for another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show. And then remember, on Friday, it'll be Cab stepping in for me on Friday to break down the card with Conor Mack. So 2 more shows this week. Make sure you join us for that. For Conor Mack, I'm Ian Cameron. Have a great Wednesday night. Enjoy the games and good luck. We will talk to you again tomorrow, Thursday, for another edition of the College Basketball Net Profit Show right here on Pub Sports Radio.
Palooza 2 on the horizon. We're going to have live shows popping off in the South Town 101. We're going to have a poker tournament, a par 3 golf tournament, UFC San Antonio on the Saturday night. A lot of excitement. Palooza 2!